All aboard? Means ready to take off. Om Sahana Sahana Bhunatu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shannihatyatrayam hitva
Shannihatyatrayam hitva
Dvayam bhitva khilatigam
Dvayam bhitva khilatigam
Ekam buddhva shnute moksham
Ekam buddhva shnute moksham Iti Vedanta Dindima.
Yeah, this is a play on numbers. Sometimes we have word plays, alliterations and other figures of speech, and this time we have play on numbers. And numbers are given here for a purpose because we are starting a new section. We're starting with verse 40. Verse number 40 starts a new section because it said, verse number 40 said basically, get over yourselves and know Jagat as Brahman. Correct? Yeah. If you really want a direct translation, that's what it said. So, but the question remains, how? You make it sound so simple, but it is not. We have to pay bills, we have to take care of things, we have to pay rent, and we have to do so many things. And how you make it sound so easy? It surely is not so easy. This is what is talking distrust and discouragement, correct? Yeah. So therefore, how to overcome that distrust and discouragement is going to be given in a very amusing way in the coming verses. And the use of numbers here is very ingenious because when numbers come, it's like you have to have only a four-fold qualifications. Then everybody relaxes. Oh, 4 things I can take care of. Yeah, Viveka, no big deal. Okay, first, number 1, check. Vairagya, check. And then what? Then the number 3 is actually 6-pack. Yeah. Check, okay, with grumblingly. Grumbling, check. Then, desire for moksha, check. So you can, if there are 4-fold qualifications, you can say, all right, I think I can handle this. If there are only 2 things to overcome, it's only 2 things, okay, no problem, So numbers give a certain kind of a ease. You feel like it's within the ken of your management. And so therefore, numbers are used here to give the reader a sense of confidence and to make it seem that it is not very difficult at all. So what do you mean make it seem that it's not difficult? Is it really difficult? No. Moksha is neither difficult nor easy. It is you. If you have the qualifications, it's easy. If instead of the qualifications there is resistance, it is difficult. That's all it is. It's not, moksha just is. It's you. So therefore, it's talking in numbers, like if you only tweak these 2 things and these 4 things, everything will be wonderful. Yeah. So you have to do just a few things here. You have to get rid of 6 things. Okay? Just translation. Shat is 6. Shat nihatya. Nihatya means you have to lose 6 things. Okay. Trayam hitva. You have to remove 3 more things. And then what to do with 2? You have to pierce the duality. And then what happens? And you have to know that one thing. Okay? In order to know that one thing, you have to lose 6 things, remove 3 things, and see through 2 things, and then it's all yours. Thus spake Vedanta. This is what the Vedanta is trying to proclaim extremely loudly. So what are these 6 things I have to remove? Any guess? Shama, Dama, Upar. They are also 6, right? But But they are also 6. Shama, Dama, Titiksha, Upariti. I have to lose them?
No.
No. Okay, so then what do I have to lose?
Anger.
Kama, number 1.
Krodha.
Yes, unmitigated desire. Kama. Krodha, because krodha comes from krudh, to get angry. And so kama leads to krodha. We know that. Why? When the desire is not fulfilled, one gets angry and upset. That's all. So unfulfilled, unmanageable desires, kama, krodha, anger, then lobha, which is avarice. Just like it's there in other religions also. What are those? Seven. Yeah, deadly sins. Okay, we're not going to give them. We're not going to say that. These are just homegrown garden variety things. Little weeds that have to be removed. That's all. And there are only 6. See, 1 less. Very nice. So, kama, krodha, lobha, avarice. And what is avarice? Avarice is wanting something which the other person has, which is of no use to you, but you still want it. That's what it is. Avarice. And which you cannot have. That's also there. Sometimes you cannot have. And avarice. Then delusion. What is delusion? Moha. Yeah. Moha, delusion. From muh, to feel lost. Interestingly, the same verb, muhyati, is also used for getting lost, delusion. Because as a result of delusion, people get lost. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, then pride, mada. Mada means pride. Matsarya, jealousy. As distinguished from avarice, greed. Yeah. Greed means I wish I had it and I'm depressed because I don't. Jealousy means when I see somebody else coming up, I wish them ill. That is jealousy. Yeah. Parasya utkarsham drishtva, a certain asahishnuta means not being able to see somebody else's rise, not being able to be happy for them. That is jealousy. These are what is called the 6 wrong emotions, which are there. The latency, they are latent. The potential for them are there. They are dormant in the person. And when are they dormant? They are dormant as long as the positive reinforcement of compassion, the opposite of all those, compassion, dharma, etc., abides in the heart. These 6 are at best held in check, held at bay. But if anything happens to disturb the equilibrium, what happens? All these come starting with anger. Yeah, all these come. Anything should happen to slightly disturb the equilibrium means everything falls apart. And so therefore what? The equilibrium has to be maintained. So shan nihatya means to lose these 6. Lose means overpower them. That's what lose means. You can't remove them. They are there. Anger is part of the psychological order. Desire is part of the order. If you keep saying, I should not have any desire, I should not have any desire. What I should not have? Desire. I should not have any desire. That becomes a desire, correct? Then you have to sit and remove the desire. Then what will you say? I should not have the desire that I should not have any desires. Then that should not becomes another desire. So then it becomes an infinite regress. Desire is Bhagavan, it's Ishvara. Desire is the manifestation of God within. Don't try to keep curbing it. Yeah. Only those desires are manifestations of God which lead you to help others, which lead you to grow into dharma, more compassionate. So the desires that don't cross dharma are the manifestations of Bhagavan. This we are told directly through the Bhagavad Gita alone. Correct? Yeah. They are manifestations of Bhagavan. So then, kama remove means what? Remove the association which brings out desires which are difficult to fulfill. Yeah. Because desire comes in the mind through certain associations. And those associations could be other thoughts or reminders of what you don't have. If you keep driving by houses that have 25 rooms and are big mansions, every day you drive by this house. Very soon what starts to happen? Why I am living in this hovel? Why I am not, there? That kind of desire comes. So instead, if we visit some other nice place, like the gardens or the mountains or the ocean or the river, then those kinds of desires will not, even if they are there, there will be a kind of a cleansing of them rather than a reiteration of that desire in the mind. A repeated iteration of those desires that are not healthy in the mind is what gives way to wrong action. That is why those kinds of desires, when they come, you busy yourself doing other things so that they just go. Yeah. That's why Nitya Karma becomes so important. What is Nitya Karma? What is Nitya Karma?
Things.
Karma means what?
Action.
Nitya Karma, actions to be done every day. Yeah. To be done. Starting with brushing the teeth. Things, you cannot say, I don't have time, I don't have time to brush teeth, I don't have time to wake up. Those things you cannot say. So, you have to do those things there. What has to be done, is called Nitya Karma. And they include both spiritual and secular activities. So, when one is busy with what one has to do, then what one must not do does not come in the mind at all. So, Nitya Karmana. So, through Nitya Karma, is Kama is conquered, and then what? Krodha, anger. How to manage anger? Tell everybody, I have a bad temper, please let me know when I am starting to get angry. Then they will do your work. You don't have to even try to do anything. Please let me know when I am about to get angry. They will say, hey, looks like you're losing it. Then you get even more angry, right? Yeah. But since you have made a pact with them, especially close family members, at that time you have to say, you should not say, what do you mean I'm losing it? That will only prove the point. So therefore, you have to step back and say, I don't like you very much right now, but for pointing this out, but all right, I will look into it, or just leave the place. Make yourself leave the place, So that way, anger is to be managed, desire is to be managed. Same thing with greed. Greed is just a mirroring of the inner lack. Yeah. And what you lack is self-acceptance, not things. Nobody lacks anything, really. Because of all the things that you have in your house, how often do you look at them? How often do you use them? So many things are there. And still there is this feeling of lack. And that's why people, become hoarders. And there is one TV show made on them. Yeah, because where people, the TV crew doesn't have place to even step inside. So many things people have collected. And I saw this in India. Yeah, this is being shown in India. And the Indians love that show. I don't know why. So somebody said, I have to go because my favorite show is coming. Can you not teach at that time? I said, let me also find out what is this favorite show. Hoarding. That is the show.
From America.
Yes, because it was on some channel there. It is dubbed in Hindi and other languages, but it's an American show. And where they go in, I saw it for a good 20 minutes before I could not stand it any longer. And then there is no place to step, and that man, the camera is going like this because he's falling down. He has only one foot. The other foot there is no place to keep. Some shopaholic couple, full of things. And that thing is just, it's a kind of the fact that one is attracted to make such shows and watch such shows, there is a morbid fascination, there's a morbid fascination, and actually it is just mirroring the inner lack. And the inner lack is not for things, it's just for approval. That's the only inner lack, there's no other lack. Yeah. Self-acceptance, that's the only thing. So greed is overcome by self-acceptance. So for self-acceptance, what I have to do? Come here more often, study, that's all. You have to commit to the study to gain ultimate self-acceptance. Relatively speaking, for self-acceptance, you have to engage in activities that help with self-love, such as yoga, such as, you have to do things that bring out that self-love. Yoga is good, music is good, dance is good, something like that you have to keep doing. Support groups, therapy, everything, all that helps. So that relative self-love, leads one to get qualified to study about the absolute self-love. That the self itself is love. That is the ultimate. So then, delusion is set right by redefining one's priorities. Delusion means being lost, being all over the place. Very simple. Get up and make a list. And every month, at the beginning of the month, now it's a good time, make a list of what you would like to achieve physically, spiritually, emotionally by the end of this month. And work towards those goals. Very nice. Gives something to look forward to. Delusion comes from not having small goals to look forward to. Either having a big goal that is too far away and out of reach, or having no goal at all, just meandering and wandering lost. That is delusion. So the priorities are reset. And then what? Pride. Pride means what? Pride means I am very proud of my achievements. That is pride, correct? What is one proud of? What one has achieved. If you look at what you have achieved, it falls apart like our pot. There is no more pot, it's all clay. So if you look at what you have achieved, education. Well, the university, you did not found the university, right? University was there for you to go. No, but I studied. Yeah, brain was there for you to study. What if there was no brain? Could you have studied? No. But then I won't be saying no either. That's a different point. That's a different point. Brain, buddhi was given. Where did the buddhi come from? It came from the parents. Because, buddhi is something we hear genetically inherited. So it came from the parents, grandparents, whatever lineage. So you have the lineage to thank for. You have Bhagavan to thank for, who is in the form of the buddhi. And so where is your achievement? What have you achieved? Nothing. Really. That's why everybody should study the 10th chapter of the Gita, which talks about what? Which talks about how everything you think you are doing is not your doing, is your undoing. Yes, this is pride. And jealousy, finally, matsarya. And matsarasya bhava, matsarya, is overcome by cultivating in the beginning a forced and false feeling of happiness whenever someone excels, and giving them a flower, a rose, and congratulating them when you least feel like it. Yes. In other words, fake it and make it. Yeah, but there is really no faking. Truly, you are happy. It's just that happiness is obfuscated again by a dramatic sense of self-lack. That's all it is. Greed and jealousy are just on the same continuum. In greed also the problem is with what? Self non-acceptance. Jealousy also, this feeling of entitlement, I was entitled to it but somebody else got it. How is that possible? Knowing all you know about Ishvara, if you were entitled to it, who should get it? You. If you didn't get it, that means what? You were not entitled to it to begin with. But here in America especially, we hear people talking in very funny, tones. They say, it should have been mine, but it wasn't, so I'm going to make it mine. How can you make something mine that is not yours to begin with? Very interesting. So this sense of entitlement has something to do with jealousy, really. That is something to look deeply into, to introspect upon. So Shat Nihatya, having lost these 6 or managed them, having told these 6 to get lost, then what? Trayam hitva. You have to lose 3 more things. What are those 3 things? Only 3. Gunas. 3 gunas. What are the 3 gunas? Sattva, tamas, rajas. When you list, you say sattva, rajas, tamas. Okay? Yeah, because the gradation is there. Tamas is the worst of the lot. So, it doesn't deserve to be put in the second place. And say sattva, tamas, rajas. Rajas will feel bad. So, sattva, rajas, tamas. It's a gradation. So, lose these qualities. These qualities means what? They are the doings. They are the palette of Maya. Yeah. What are the primary colors? Red, blue and
Green.
Green?
No.
Yellow. Yeah. Last time also you said green. So, red, blue and green. Red, blue and yellow. And last time also she said, I clearly remember, red, blue and yellow. So with these, if you give a Van Gogh or someone like that, if you say there are no shades, there are only these 3 shades, and we are going to lock you up in this room, and in 3 days a masterpiece should be ready, they will make it. Why? Because it's just the mixture of all these various combinations of these give the whole entire palette of the paint jagat, correct? Yeah, the paint jagat which is within the square of that canvas, it comes to life, painted by the palette of the primary colors which are
Red, green, and yellow.
red, blue and yellow. Okay? So this is what the primary colors are. And that is the primary colors of painting in the world of masterpieces. But when we talk about the master's masterpiece, who is the master? Ishvara, Bhagavan, Brahman. So Brahman's masterpiece also is a palette of 3 colors which are sattva, rajas and tamas. Yeah, a little dip, 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 a human being. Yeah, a little dip, 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 a tree. And some trees have so much tamas that they go into hibernation the moment when they are born. There is one corpse flower, corpse tree. Somewhere in the rural areas of Thailand, it grows on a small mountain top. And it grows once in 15 years or 13 years or something like that. And when the flower blooms from this plant, it's a huge flower. It will take up this whole room, maybe the next room also. Yeah. And it looks nice, but smells, that's why it's called corpse flower. Okay, I'm not going to elaborate. So much so that all the people, when they have lived there for many, many years, they know when it starts, when the bud comes, they evacuate their village and go because nobody can stand the stench. Corpse flower. Tamasik. This is an example of Maya in the form of tamas, with a palette of tamas. Then there is another thing again in the plant kingdom called the fly trap. The name of this is fly trap. And it's got this kind of a long thing, the flower. It's got this long form. Inside there will be just a little bit of drops of water, little bit of water, suspended. There is no stamen, nothing. And then it has a half lid coming like this. And that lid is also made up of the same leaf or the same petal of that flower. And then it's not closing it completely, it's just arching over it like this. And then there are various varieties. The one I saw is that this is very slippery. So the fly or the spider comes, sits there and slips into that little water and is digested within a few minutes. Very rajasic plant, correct? Yeah. Very few examples where we have of plants being non-vegetarian. Yeah, plants only live on sunlight, but this thing grows in the deep, dark areas. So this is the way it has food. Rajasic. And certain other creepers that grow in front of our eyes, rajasic. And there are certain other plants, very sattvic, give shade, give fruit, like this. So if you look in the animal world also, we have certain rajasic insects. Keep on moving, keep on moving. If you are in the way, they will move on your leg and go this. Where they are going, we don't know. Like ants. Keep on going. All the time they are going, and very purposefully they are going. If you put a block, it will climb over the block and go. And certain very tamasic. And certain very sattvic, like cow, etc., are considered sattvic animals for two reasons. One is they are incapable of harming others. Deer, very sattvic. And number two, every body part comes into use. Yeah. Bones of the cow are used, skin is used for shoes, and then flesh is used for people who eat. Like this, there is not a single part that is wasted after it's left its body. And even while it's in the body, the cow dung is used for fertilizer and to, as a source of fuel. Cow dung cakes are burnt for cooking. And so like this, nothing of the cow and the urine of the cow is a antidote for most snake bites. That's what they say. And so this is what, therefore in the animal world we find predominantly sattvic, predominantly rajasic, predominantly tamasic animals. And human beings also, we have predominantly sattvic, predominantly rajasic, and predominantly tamasic people. Tamas means, and this all in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita will describe what kinds of personalities we are talking about. Tamasic people means you ask them a question, they will respond next year. Yeah. And also people who have a lot of, resentment. People who are vengeful. This is all part of tamasic. And rajasic, people given to restlessness and anger. Some rajas is needed, otherwise how to get out of bed? That's not what is talked about. But we are talking in too much measure, imbalanced measure. And sattvic is the person who is dharmic, peaceful as the cow in the meadow, compassionate. This is what is sattvic. And so you see the whole Jagat is painted with these three gunas called sattva, rajas and tamas. And a little detour we are going to take into the Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavan Krishna tells Arjuna, Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistraigunya Bhava Arjuna. Nistraigunya Bhava Arjuna. Nirmamo Nitya Sattvasthaha Niryoga Kshemaha Atmavan. This is a verse worth looking into. Because Bhagavan Krishna talks about this. This is in the 2nd chapter. Bhagavan Krishna says that the topic of the Veda, especially the first portion of the Veda, is what? It's just Sattva, Rajas and Tamas is the topic of the three gunas, because it's talking about the Jagat, it's talking about how to feel secure relatively through prayer, how to cast spells, how to gain this and that in time, within time and within samsara. All this it is talking, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Arjuna is urged and encouraged by Bhagavan to become Nistraigunya, means to transcend the gunas, to have nothing to do with any of the three gunas. How to do that? This seems to be a contradiction. On the one hand, you say that this is the palette with which that is used to color the entire universe, including my body, mind, sense complex. And then you are asking me to lose the three gunas. And here also the person is being asked to lose the three gunas. How to do that? Well, to understand that even though the palette is used for crafting the body, mind, sense complex, the body, mind, sense complex is the product of the three gunas. But you are not the product of the three gunas. The I is because of which the gunas exist. I transcends the gunas naturally. And so therefore what? I have to know that I. I have to be one with that I. And then the gunas will no longer disturb me. So the one who is undisturbed by the gunas, lose the three gunas means be immune to them. Be immune to their lures. Yeah. But how to do that? The second half of that same verse that I just quoted talks about it. Nirmamaha. Mama means what? Sixth case of aham. So that means mine, me. Nirmama means the one who does not know the meaning of the word mine. Yeah. Be the person who has forgotten the meaning of the word mine. What would that look like? Huh? Think about it. So much fun to even think about it. Because the word mine is the cause of all sorrow and embroils one in the gunas. Mine has both rajas and tamas in it. So when you say not mine, idam na mama, you keep saying this is not mine, this is not mine. Look around your house, this is not mine, this is not mine, this is not mine. Look at your hand, this is not mine. Look at the other hand, this is not mine, this is not mine, not mine, not mine, not mine. It's a very good practice. You cannot be sad about what is not yours. Yeah, very difficult. You can be empathetic, that's different. But you can't be miserable about what is not yours. Correct? So, nirmama, mamo bhava. And then how do we transcend the gunas is given beautifully. Nitya sattvasthaha. By first catching hold of sattva. You catch hold of sattva first. The other two you leave. Because even within the gunas, there has to be a certain way of transcending them. Leave the other two and only adopt sattvic qualities in A, your behavior, B, your lifestyle, C, your beliefs, D, your diet. Yeah. So how do I do that? You have to cultivate it. Cultivate sattvic companionship. Sattvic means that which is all peaceful, easy, benign, without a punch there hidden in it, and that which symbolizes compassion and non-injury. So when you live your life by this guiding principle of least resistance and commitment to compassion and non-injury, then what would your life be like more and more? What would you do less and less of? And then again, what would you eat? More importantly, what would you not eat? These are all things to think about. And so therefore, so be firmly grounded in sattva. Oh, then this is very nice. You are telling me in order to lose all the three gunas, first I have to catch hold of sattva and lose the other two gunas. Then who's going to give me a talk on how to lose becoming sattvic? How to lose sattva? Because sattva is also like a golden shackle, correct? It gives too much punya. So what to do with that? That will drop off by itself. Yeah. Part of becoming sattvic means letting go. And then you don't need another lecture on how to let go of letting go. Correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Letting go means you let go of the compulsion to let go also. That also will be let go on. Letting go means it is all encompassing. So nirdvandvo means beyond dualities, nitya sattvasthaha. Be always firmly, anchored in sattva. And then Atmavan. Atmavan means the one who is together, relatively together. The one who is together as a person of integrity is Atmavan. And then finally, even though that doesn't come at the end, Niryoga Kshemaha. Niryoga Kshema means yoga and Kshema mean what? Yoga means gain of that which is not yet had. Apraptasya prapanam yoga. Gaining which I want, which I don't have. Gaining that which I don't have, but I want something. Anything it can be. A better, job, better body, better lifestyle, whatever it is. I don't have, I want. And then Kshema is maintaining what I have. That is also difficult, correct? Like bank balance. Very difficult to maintain. So this is called yoga and Kshema. Yoga, gaining what I have, and then Kshema is what? Maintaining what gaining what I don't have, and then Kshema is maintaining what I have. This is where the whole pursuit is. And here Arjuna is told, Niryoga Kshema Bhava. Be the one to whom these don't matter. Let go of this penchant and this obsession with small things that are making you feel like you're going to become relatively secure because you're not. If you are insecure by nature, nothing you do will make you secure, correct? If you are secure by nature, nothing you do will make you secure because you're already secure. Security is not something that is to be manufactured, it is your nature to be discovered. So therefore, hand over the Yoga Kshema portfolios to who? Bhagavan. So while you imagine yourself putting yourself to bed in the lap of Bhagavan, waking up in the lap of Bhagavan, hang up the Yoga Kshema on each ear of Bhagavan. Let it be an earring. Okay? Yoga is one earring, Kshema is another earring. Yeah. Two different kinds of earrings. Hang it up on Bhagavan and you don't be in charge of your own progress. Let go. Trust. So, see how easy it is. So, we have got rid of 6 and now we have got rid of what? 3. What more remains?
1,
2.
Oh.
Yeah. Don't say I'm going to get rid of Brahman also now.
That's what's left.
So now 2, we have to deal with the 2. What is the 2? The 2 is the ignorance, the duality. What I want is oneness. What I am confronted with repeatedly is what? Duality. So how to get rid of that? Never wake up, then you will always be non-dual. Right? Yeah. Sleep during the night and sleep some more during the day. Spend 18 hours sleeping and somehow get through 6 hours. No. That is not the way to overcome or transcend duality. Even though it looks like a good idea, it will drive most people crazy. Okay? Unless you're a bear in winter. You will not be able to bear it. So, therefore what? Dvayam hitva. Does that what it says? No. What is the word here? Hitva. Dvayam bhitva. Yeah, piercing. Yeah, very interesting. Piercing through that division. How to pierce through the division? By knowing that the division is undivided. And for this I will teach a open eye meditation. Very easy to do that. Yeah. So you just relax, sit quietly, aram se, nowhere to go, no energy to expend even in closing the eyes. And just breathe, get in touch with the breathing. and be aware of everything around you in a very, as though it's happening in the background. Other bodies are there in the room, other chairs, tables, furniture is there in the room. Outside the room also there is a certain life going on. And if your eyes naturally close while I'm talking, let them. If not, you can keep them open. And just keep on breathing. Breathing in very gently and out. Nothing to expect, nothing to strive for, nothing to say, nowhere to go. Focus within. And let everything from the outside that is coming and going just be like that. Sometimes the eye moves, the eye falls on something, the thought of that thing arises in the mind, and then you're back to yourself, back to the breathing. The thought comes, the thought goes. And let everything that the eyes fall on have that same quality. Thought comes, thought goes. That object is there in time and space, and when I, consciousness, light up that object with my eyes, with my means of knowledge, then that object comes to light. Now that object is no longer in light, but I, the light of all lights, is unchanging. Thoughts come, thoughts go, object comes, object goes. And come back to the breathing repeatedly each time you go away. And then let the gaze fall on the flowers here in front. Slowly take in the flower, take in the particulars, how it is growing, the shape of the leaves, the shape of the pot, the color. Take in all that while knowing it's just an object of thought. And then look at the truth of the flower, the plant. Now the eyes are focused on the plant. The flower is there, but that's not the focus. The truth of the flower is the plant. And then the truth of the plant is the soil underneath. The soil, Oshadhibhyah, Annam, Prithivya, Oshadhayah. From the earth has come the flower. So look at the earth, or even if you cannot see the dirt, imagine the earth element. And then take a look again at the whole plant, the flower, the earth, the truth of it all. And what is causing this plant to come to light? Your own eyes. The eyes are product of the same 5 elements that the plant, the flower is a product of. So the plant has come from the earth through the interaction with the water, air, sunshine, and similarly, my ability to see this flower, this plant, is also through the 5 elements. The eyes are a product of the subtle 5 elements, and the 5 elements alone make this plant come to life. But really speaking, what is the cause of the 5 elements? The cause of the 5 elements is nothing but Brahman, Ishvara, I. myself alone. So what I observe is Ishvara, the observer is Ishvara, the process of observation is also Ishvara. And like this, you can do this for one more thing in the room. You look around now and pick one thing in the room and do this same exercise wherever you are, on your own, in your own places. Do whatever it is. It can be another body, it can be an inanimate thing, it doesn't matter. Visualize the object, see its truth, trace its truth to the 5 elements and Ishvara. Ishavasyamidam sarvam. And slowly coming back. And this is the way to meditate upon the non-duality. And this you can keep doing. It doesn't require effort. You don't need any kind of paraphernalia. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in a crowd. You don't need to say there are too many people, I cannot meditate. That is no longer an excuse. You can just sit there and do this. And the more you do this, the more you are with yourself. It's a beautiful meditation. So this is how you lose the duality. So we have lost 6 and then 3 and then 2. After 2 what comes? 1. How to lose that 1? Don't lose it. Yeah. If you lose it, you will lose it. Yeah. You will lose it all. Because underneath these 6, underneath these 3, that which upholds the 6, upholds the 3, sustains the so-called 2, is that non-dual 1. Do you see how the number plays here? So beautiful. There. So don't lose the 1. Ekam buddhva. And it doesn't say experience that one. It says buddhva, knowing. Yeah, from buddha to know. Know that one. Oh, how to get to know? My name is so and so. Nice to meet you, Brahman. No, that will make it 2, correct? So know it as what? You. Know it as your own self. Yeah. Don't say, you need a little badge. I'm going to meet Brahman and greet Brahman. Yes, Brahman, what is that? Meeting party. Sometimes they have these orientation parties. So no, that will again make it 2. As soon as you say hello and reach out your hand, you're already in the 2, correct? Then you'll have to do Ishvara meditation all over again. And then you say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Brahman alone. And to know that, you have to study this teaching, continue to study that. Okay? Yeah. Now few more numbers. Because this is the Sudoku section of Vedanta Dindima. Bhitva shat pancha bhitvatha bhitvatha chaturastrikam dvayam hitva shrayedekam iti Vedanta Dindima. So now we have 6, and then we have 5, and then we have 4, but there is no 3 in this one. And then from 4 we go to half, 2, and then we come to 1. Okay? Yeah. Vitva, piercing the 6. So what are these 6? These must be Shama, Dama, Titiksha, correct? No. No. This time also I am wrong? Yes. Okay. These 6 must be something else, because the other 6 we have seen. and they cannot be the 6 preparatory qualifications to gain the self-knowledge. So therefore, these 6 are what? These 6 have to do with the 6 manifestations of ignorance. So, what are the 6 manifestations of ignorance? Yeah, one is shoka, sorrow. So very sorry, one cuts a sorry figure when one is ignorant because of the sorrow, shoka. Then delusion, moha. That moha there was about mixed up priorities, that is the moha there. Here this moha is a byproduct of ignorance. The ignorance itself is called moha. So shoka, sorrow, moha, ignorance, and then jara marana bhaya. Jara means what? Old age. The word geriatry must have come from jara. Yeah. Jara bhaya and then marana bhaya. Fear. You don't even have to say fear of death and old age. Fear. Fear, pure and simple. Sorrow, ignorance and fear. And then sorrow, ignorance, fear of old age. Old age means usually what will come in old age? Diseases, right? Yeah. So fear of disease and fear of death. You can take it like that. So, and then the other two are what? Thirst and hunger. Even though it doesn't seem like a big thing, some people get very afraid. What if there is no water? There is a kind of a fear of not having water. Not hydrophobia, don't say that. That is the other one. Yeah. It is fear of water. But here is fear that I'll become hungry and there will be no food. And the irrational fear that I will become thirsty and water will not be at hand. You know, this kind of fear can come if you are abandoned in the Sahara desert. That's normal then. Because really speaking, everything, even the sand dune will start to look like water bottles. Giant water bottles. Because mirage feeling will come because of the delusion. That's not what we are talking about. We are talking of places where there is enough water and plenty of taps are around and bottles are around and rivers and lakes and sources of water around. Still the person is afraid that they will die thirsty, that they will die hungry. So this is on the irrational level, it's a medical condition. But then the garden variety level, everybody has this. You know, what if I am hungry? What if I am thirsty? Because in fact all our activities have to do with having food and drink. Really. It's all about that. It's all about having food and drink. So these are the 6 preoccupations. You know, here the sorrow becomes a preoccupation when the self is not known. Delusion becomes a preoccupation when there is total self-ignorance. Fear of death and disease become preoccupations when one, because of the ignorance again. And then hunger and thirst also become a preoccupation because of the ignorance, which leads to body identification. The body alone is Atma. That is what causes all this. Yeah. And so therefore, you have to lose all this. Lose these 6 byproducts of ignorance. How to, I will not say because the verses themselves will talk about this. I will let the verses speak in detail. How to, each one will say that. And then having lost the 6, what else do we have to do? 5. What are the 5? 5 pranas. Lose the 5 pranas. No. Don't do that. But 5, what other 5 are pranas? What else? The numbers should always... sense organs. So what do the sense organs attract? Sense objects. So the 5 sense objects corresponding to the 5 sense organs, always wanting to look at pleasant things, eat pleasant things, smell pleasant things. You know, this is what it is. This becomes an experience hunter. This is what makes one into a into an experience hunter. So lose the power of the sense organs over you. You be the driver, let them not drive you to places. Yeah. You be in the driving situation and you say, no, not this, not now. You can exercise the restraint and the discipline, but if you let the, taste buds drive you, what will happen? Lot of difficulties you'll have. Yeah. Taste buds cannot drive you from restaurant to restaurant, from place to place. I once heard one, what was it? A interview on NPR. So some Afghanian chef, he was being interviewed, and then he was being talked to, and then he was being interviewed because in England, in London somewhere, he had opened a very successful restaurant which was crowded every day, every night, and everybody was coming. So it had become so famous. So then they were just asking him, so what do you think about English cuisine? And he made an untranslatable noise, but a noise that required no translation, because it was very clear he didn't think highly of it. And then he elaborated by saying, that is why they colonized all the different countries, because they were sick of their own food. This is what, driven by the taste buds, what it will lead you to do? Play havoc with the whole world. So therefore, I forgot his name, but it was so funny. He says they couldn't stand liver and kidneys every day, and that's why they went everywhere, because they were so tired, poor things, of their own food. They just went to they went to Asia for curry, and they went to Africa for certain, delicacies, and that is why they were in various places. And so like this, we cannot let the sense organs make decisions, correct? They are just reporters. They just tell you there is something that is very good looking there. They won't even say good looking, something that is looking purple. And then the mind says, oh, but I like purple. Oh, so therefore it is good looking. And then the next thing the mind says is, how come it's not mine yet? This wonderful blueberry ice cream, purple, yeah. So, and then the body, doesn't protest, even though it has cholesterol, even though it's, it's dairy intolerant, it doesn't protest. It says, yes, please pile it on. Give me, give me, give me. And somewhere that witness has to exercise the control and management, correct? So you have to manage the sense organs. And so Vitva means piercing through the illusion that the sense organs are creating trouble for me, and I have no power. That's an illusion. So piercing through that illusion and taking your life back from the sense organ, then we move to the 4. This is very difficult. What is the 4? Manaha, Chittam, Buddhi, Ahankara. The various shades of the mind. Dear friends, yes. It's easy to say I am not the body. Try saying the mind also, I am not. Very difficult, because most of the people's identification is with the mind. Firmly identified with the mind, every emotion becomes real. And then the misery also becomes real. Fear becomes real. Sorrow becomes real. Anger becomes real. And based on the modifications of the mind, one makes decisions about the permanent. Yeah. I think I won't go to Vedanta classes anymore because they make me angry, Yeah. This is Vedanta classes leads you to the permanent self. But then what is the choice that is being made here? They make me angry. Of course, the Vedanta class, how can it make you angry, correct? Yeah, anger is already there. And so if the anger is coming out, the anger has to be dealt with. But usually what is the tendency? It makes me sad, so I won't go. It makes me angry, therefore I won't go. It's like sawing the limb off on the same limb that you are sitting. Yeah. Shooting oneself in the foot, this is what is called. So, therefore what? Therefore, we don't let these emotions are called fleeting emotions because they really are fleeting. They flit by. And even though when in the moment of anger and despair, it feels like it's always this way. I am always like this. And the person will say, I have always been like this. It's not true. Even the most depressed person, the person who is subject to depression, finds joy. That means what? It's not always like this, correct? So the word always can be used only for Brahman. Don't try it on the mind. Yeah. It's not applicable to any of the emotions in the mind. In fact, we have a saying, Kshanika Vrittihi. Any mental modification is there but for a moment. No, but I was sad for 3 days. Yeah, that was, you hung the moments together and stapled them. That's why you were sad for 3 days. Really. Like like you make a toran. What is toran? Like a paper garland or a leaf garland you make. So you make a big toran toranam out of the emotions. You string them through the mind, and still they are really fleeting. The observer alone is there, is real, is Brahman. The emotions dry up like the leaves on the toran, they are not there. Yeah. So when one is in the fit of anger, you say, I am subject to anger right now. That's all. I am subject, it appears as though I am subject to grief right now. Already you have gained some inner space between yourself and the emotion. That is very, very important to do, to gain this inner space. I cannot underscore the need for this inner space. It's not running away. It is watching it from a distance within. You are there, you separate from the emotion and say, oh, that was a big outburst. Oh, look at that. Oh, one more wave of sadness is coming. Oh, fancy that. Oh, one more anger is coming. Oh, people better stay out of my way. Like this you talk to yourself. And then you can also say, what can I throw to make myself feel better? What can I fling? What can I throw? Where can I go to a quiet place and yell? That is acting proactively with these negative emotions. So here the mind is divided into 4 parts. What are the 4 parts? Manaha, the mind which keeps going, flitting from thought to thought, which never even can make a decision. Chittam, emotions. And then Buddhi, the intellect. And then Ahankara, the owner of all 3, the one who says me, mine, the notion, I notion, is called Ahankara, I-ness. So all these 4 are Brahman. Brahman is not any one of them. So these 4 you have to call the bluff of these 4. Manaha, Buddhi, Chittam, Ahankara. Manaha means the indecisive faculty of the mind. Buddhi, the intellect or the decision-making faculty. Chittam, the emotive faculty. Ahankara, the I notion that attaches itself to all these 3. None of them is you. But all 4 can be major, obstacles in knowing the self if they are given a pedestal to which they are not entitled. You enthrone the chittam, finished. You enthrone the emotive faculty and say, emotions, you are the Raja, you are my king, I'll do as you say. Then it will lead you on a big spree, which won't look pretty, correct? And then similarly, if you say, Manaha, the indecisive faculty, you are my king, what will it do? It won't let you do anything. Yeah. And similarly, if you say, Ahankara, you are the whole, you are everything, it will say, first thing it will say, stop going and studying Vedanta. If I am whole, you surrender to me. Stop going to temples also. It will say that. Buddhi, you are everything. It will say, okay, get a PhD. It's because it's all, mithya. It is all ways of the mind with regard to their form and function. Just different categories of the mind that is so fleeting. It is a product of Brahman. It is not real. Brahman alone is real. So like a pot, the mind is made up of Brahman. It's nothing but Brahman. But Brahman is not the mind. Pot is clay, but clay is not pot in the same way. So these four also, how to let go, it's going to be given, I think, in somewhat in detail, so we should not look into that at all. Then let's go from 4 to 2. Oh, there is 3 also? Oh yeah, there is 3. Chatustrikam. Yeah, I forgot that the Trikam was in the Chaturas Trikam, yes. 3 is there. So this is very much systematic. 6, 5, 4, 3. And here what are the 3? It cannot be the gunas because we have done them already. Eshana Trayam, write this down. Eshana means the foremost, Eshana means desire. Trayam, threefold desire. So everybody comes with threefold desires. One is called Vittaishana. Vittam means wealth. Vittaishana means the desire for wealth. Who doesn't have? Raise your hand. Nobody will raise their hand. Everybody likes money and wealth and comfort. Then Putraishana, the desire for progeny. And even the person who says, I don't have maternal instincts, paternal instincts, I don't want to have a child, they will definitely want to leave something behind. That is, the progeny means generally wanting to make sure something continues after I am gone. That is how you have to take it in the modern times. So, desire for wealth, desire for progeny, symbolic desire. Then finally what? Desire for lokas, various fields of experiences. Lokaishana, Lokaishana, Vittaishana, Putraishana. This is common to all jivas. Lokas including heaven. That I want to go to heaven. Why? Don't ask. But I want to go. What will you find there that you don't find here? I don't know, but I want to go. So this is what is called. And then even before going to heaven, I want to go to heavenly places. I want to go on holiday, that kind of a thing. I want to acquire lokas. I want to visit lokas. So, these are the common desires which drive every activity in life. Think about it. Every activity in your life are driven by these 3 desires. And here comes a bombshell. Give up these 3 desires. Putraishana, give up. Oh, but what if I have children already? Take care of them, but give them up. Yeah. Take care of them. Put them in Bhagavan's lap and bring them up. And then, Vittaishana, give it up. Oh, but then who will take care of my family? Go back to the talk on Niryoga Kshemaha. Yoga Kshema, hang it on the shoulders of Bhagavan. So, desire for wealth here means beyond what is needed. Yeah. Beyond what is needed. Same thing with children, beyond what is needed. Everybody should not become octomom. Yeah, one is enough. Yeah, so like that, beyond what is needed. There is no need to desire for, sometimes the desire for children is to overcome one's own pain. And that is something to be deeply interrogated. And feeling like I could not do so many things. And I could not, do this properly, so I have to have this. I have to kind of bring myself up through this little being. So that desire, one gives up. Lokaishana, again, Lokaishana means wanderlust to go here and there and everywhere, including heaven. Because heaven is right here, right now. You are it. It is something to be discovered. It's not a place away from you. It cannot be. If it is a place away from you, it cannot be eternal. Eternal means that which is there all the time. So, it cannot be eternal and away from you. It's a logical impossibility. So, similarly, even within the world, there are so many things to be gained, so many fields of experiences. I let go of that so that I can focus on that one thing. What is that one thing here? How is that described? Ekam ashrayed. Yeah, take refuge in that one thing alone. This is very nice because instead of taking refuge in the 3 desires, in the 4 mental modifications, in the 5 sense objects, and in the 6 delusions, take refuge in that one thing, which is as though sustaining all of them, which is not at all any of them, which is the truth of you, which is Bhagavan, which is Brahman. Thus says Vedanta Dindima. So did you discuss whether you want a class on the 19th or not?
Okay.
Nobody discussed.
We can.
We forgot.
Yes. Yes. We can have 9.
Yes. Will all of you be able to come?
I'll be out of town, but I'll watch online.
Yes.
Okay. Then we can advertise it, send out the emails. So 19th, same time. 19th we will meet again for this class from 9:30 to 12 Western time, Pacific time. Okay. 19th of this month. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Any other questions? Any questions are there? Yeah.
So, I like what you were saying about like going around your house and saying, not mine, not
Yes.
mine, not mine.
Yes.
Because I realized, but I was trying to figure out like, because I'd come up with my own way of kind of dealing with the duality issue. So like, is exclusion, so I could see where exclusion would work, but like with my family,
Yes.
so my mind came up and went, oh, it's almost been a year. You could be really sad that it's been a year that you're not part of your family. And then I just stopped and said, instead of excluding, I included. I said, I am the mother.
Yes.
I am the
Perfect.
father.
Yeah,
the
that's
brother,
a
sister.
good way too. You
So
have to do
it doesn't
both.
matter whether
You have
it's
to. It
exclusion.
matters. You have to do both.
Do both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you do one at the cost of the other, if you do exclusion at the cost of inclusion, you know what happens? You get into a place of dissociation. You run into the danger. And if you keep including, then the Vairagya won't come. So therefore you have to do both. Yeah. The mind is very tricky. A sneaky thing it is. Yeah. You have to keep bombarding it with different methodologies.
Yeah.
You say not mine, not mine, not mine, and then you say the whole world is mine.
Yeah.
And then you say not mine again. You have to do both at the same time. It's a dual stereophonic attack. Yes. You had a question.
I was going to inquire further on the threefold desires, specifically Lokaishana.
Vittaishana. Huh?
No,
Lokaishana. Yeah, Loka.
Of the three, of that, can I understand it correctly, is desire for, if you will, fields of experience?
Yes.
Of these three, that seems to be maybe the stickier attachments relative to clearing up my,
No,
not
it's-
reincarnating.
No, it's everyone. Everyone has a different attachment. So for some people it is, they don't care so much about loka. Give me vitta and don't talk to me. That's what they'll say, You have the loka, I'll take the vitta. They will say that. And so for some people, the children are the place where they are brought down. So wherever there is an inordinate, quote-unquote, attachment, or the desire where it sticks is different for different people, different cultures, different countries. So there are cultural desires, there are individual desires, so like that, yeah.
Well, I guess I was thinking I could reduce all of them to just that
Yeah, you
desire
can.
to experience the
Yeah,
loka
yeah,
kind of
fields,
thing.
yeah, bhoga.
Whether
Yeah.
it's through your children or through what you can do through wealth.
No, but here loka means also places. Places. Desire for places, including heaven. Yeah, so the place can be physical or metaphorical, but we should not let go of the desire for places in that sense, because we should not contend with it as a separate category. Each one is a separate category, and yes, each one arises from the other, and sometimes you can reduce it to one or the other, but still they each requires independent looking into, because they are very strong. Yeah. All right.